I'm Daniel, and I'm an addict. You know, saying I was addict was one of the hardest words I ever said in my life. You know, I grew up in a very dysfunctional family. Both my parents were addicts. They used the liquid shit. And, you know, I remember seeing my dad beat up on my mother, and my mom would get drunk and go on this long tangents of resentments, and I grew up till the age of 13 in this little town called Green Hill, Indiana. It wasn't much of a town, but I missed it when I moved up to Holler. Because, you know, the Holler sucked. There's no other way of putting it. Because, you know, I lived at Green Hill. I had all my little buddies. There's one kid across the road. He's played every sport imaginable, but I'd play with him. I wasn't worth fuck, but I did it anyway. And, you know, and they had a little creek that you go down there and play in and fish out of and shit. But I went to special ed as a kid back there. I never felt part of nothing, you know. I remember I'd have to get on one bus, ride to one town, get on another bus, ride to the high school, get on another bus and ride to this other town. And I was always poked fun of and shit. And then I came up with a solution. I got $1 a day from the old man, my mom or old man for lunch. So I wouldn't spend the whole dollar. I spent 50 cents or 75 cents. So I got $5 saved up, and I would I'd ride to Audubon on the first bus and say, fuck it, I ain't catching the other one. And hide around that town and catch the bus home. No, did that about every 2 or 3 months. And nobody ever really caught on to it, you know. But, you know, the thing is I think I was born an addict. Because everybody on my mother's side of the family that touched anything that was one bit addicted, they were automatically gone. The oldest living relative I had was 101 years old. And as far as I know, she never drank, smoked, used dope, or she ate like the hillbillies back there and never ate much meat and shit. And I'm like, damn. That tells you something, right? And so, you know, I hated cigarette smoking, but damn, I didn't mind drinking every once in a while. You know, my disease progressed. You know, I went to one stuff to the other, and I always cut myself short. So I always was looking for a quick way to find some way to make money real quick without having to actually do any hard studying, because I hated reading. And I wasn't no good at writing. Well, come find out in recovery, I have dyslexia. You know, it's like you don't know that shit until you get clean. You know. So, my addiction started when I went to this vocational school down there in the little town of Paintsville, Mayo. You know, I hooked up with all these guys, and I stayed high, and went to diesel mechanic, and grew up, and all we did was take motors apart, put them back together, and get them running and shit. I think I stayed stoned for the whole 2 years I went down there, because my brother was in active addiction, and I'd steal his shit, you know. And so, you know, so I graduated, couldn't really find a job around there. Was the one I found odd end jobs, and then my dad talked me into going to California, hooking up with my uncle on my mom's side of the family, married my aunt that I knew nothing about, and he bragged he'd get me in this apprenticeship thing. Well, you know, he was an addict, talked one thing and it was another thing. Because, you know, I'm an addict, I get addicted to anything, and I don't quit anything till I hit rock bottom and it almost kills my dumb ass, or my life is so totally unmanageable behind it, it's unbelievable. It's like I had to cut back on Diet Coke. That's my last goddamn addiction left, man. What the hell? Because, you know, I'd say pop cans, and I noticed all these pop cans taken about, you know, I think 80 or 90% were mine. Hell, there were very few of anybody else's. What the hell? I'm like, God damn. It's like, you know, I didn't realize that shit. And I quit it once before, but you know how that one is too many and 1,000 is never enough shit? It's so true. So, I worked at the machine shop, of course, and stuff, and I wound up getting this good job at this company called McDonnell Douglas, and I always had tremors in my hands. I never liked people to notice that shit. It bugged the hell out of me, because, they always thought I had some kind of major mental problem or nervous shit. Like, no, fucker, I had it all my life. Leave me the fuck alone, my attitude. I learned how to work around it. My sister, bless her heart, thought that I need to go see a doctor about it. Well, that doctor told me to give up caffeine, chocolate, and handed me a whole bunch of sample pills that people were like eating like candy in Eastern Kentucky when I moved back. I got them for free, and I got addicted to them things. So, I get paranoid when they want to push a new medication on me. Like, I call somebody in recovery and talk to them about it that knows more about that shit than I do. Because that's my higher power, man. Because I don't want to go through withdrawals again. Withdrawals suck, personally. And my very first sponsor used to say, if you don't pick it up, Daniel, you don't have to go through that shit again. So, I got the job at McDonnell Douglas. I couldn't do the jig and fixture building thing, so they stuck me in this paint department. So I'm working with these two young girls, and one of them I knew was, both of them are addicts, I don't know if they're addicts or not, but they used. And of course, I wind up using with them, and I hooked up with the one that introduced the shit that really, really made me hit bottom real quick, fast, in a hurry, and cost a lot of money and everything I had, and so I was going to get high before I went to this club I like to go to on this Friday nights, and I was using that drug, and the cops come up on me, and I blew it because it's powdered stuff, and I still went to jail. And they said I looked like a guy that was supposed to kill some dope dealer in Compton. I don't know, hell, it could have been me because I had blackouts, the shit I mixed. I don't remember shit, hell. So, but they didn't have enough evidence, and I couldn't remember any of it. Hell, they can't nail you for something you can't remember. So, and some guy there in the cell just don't tell them anything. Let them do their damn job. He was one of the professional convicts. I wasn't. I was a rank amateur type. First I've been in jail in my life. So I didn't say anything, and they didn't have any proof. So I got out on probation and drug diversion, and I had to go to meetings and see a counselor, and I argued with this probation. I'm not an alcoholic. I'm not an addict. I just have a little problem. I'll quit it on my own. And this woman said, I don't care what you think. She gave me a court slip, wrote 3 initials on that paper, and said, you'll go. And it was AA, CA, and NA. Well, then I had to go see this woman at the work job I had, and that bitch did the same goddamn thing. And I had to pee in the cup and all that shit. So I'm sitting there like, fuck, I don't. Because, I went to a meeting a long time ago, a couple of years before that, with my brother-in-law that was, his addiction was food, and I didn't really feel comfortable there, but it didn't help I went there stoned either, hell. I don't remember anything of it. So I'd figured, well, got to start somewhere, so I called Cocaine Anonymous. Yeah, there we go. Because, I was just going to give the one substance up, hell. And so they gave me an address, and cool, that's kind of close to the gym I work out at too. I can go to this gym and go to this meeting, and because I had to be at work at 3:30, and I can get to work. Yeah, this shit's going to work out. I went in that meeting. I got there a little early. Some guy at work said, all you have to do is just lay down the court slip. They'll sign it and let you go. They don't want you hanging around. Oh, hell, that didn't work that way. The best looking woman I've seen in years grabbed them court slips and told me I had to sit through the whole meeting, and she would sign them and gave me a hug. I'm like, oh, this ain't too bad. I got a hug from a good-looking woman. Yeah. You know, so I sit in the Dare to Be Clean section. Anybody know where the Dare to Be Clean section is? In the very back of the room. It was in a room about the size of one of these classrooms, and there'd be 50 or 60 people stuffed in that room at noon. And I sit against the sliding glass doors in the back, in the corner. That way, as soon as I got my court slips, I can get the fuck out of there and go to work. Well, at that meeting I went to, they clapped about everything, man. No matter what you said, they clapped. And you picked up a key tag, they clapped. You read. They did treasurer's reports in the meeting. They clapped. They did, announcements. They would clap. And your hands hurt after an hour and a half sitting. And it was a lead meeting, too. Somebody had to give 15, 20 minutes brief story, and then it opened up participation. And I'm like, well, this ain't too bad. I don't know if I'm going to stay or not, but my whole plan was to stay long as get the job off my ass in the court, and I would go back to using socially, don't you know? Yeah. Well, I noticed on the sliding door they had the NA symbol and the AA symbol at the same damn place. So I go, oh, cool. So I went there the next day, and it was all at the same time at noon, and the same damn woman was there, told me the same thing, and so I sit in the Dare Be Clean section, and they clapped there, no matter what you said, anything. I remember this woman went off this big tangent, cussed the whole group out, said she hated all you fuckers, da-da-da-da-da. And they clapped, told her, keep coming back, it'll get better. She went off stomping. Then she went out and used, came back a couple of days later, and she said, I need you fuckers, but I still hate you. We're glad you're back. How was it out there? And like, oh my God. And I got ordered there, and so I spent Christmas Eve and Christmas and my 26th birthday in L.A. County Jail. And I fought over a pair of damn red tennis shoes for 5 weeks. And you know what pissed me off about the damn tennis shoes? They were name brand tennis shoes, nice ones, Palomas and everything. My sister's dog ate the whole inside of them out. My older sister, and I had to get another pair of tennis shoes. And I'm like, you damn mutt. I love Cuddles, but that just pissed me off. I ate my damn tennis shoes. He ate everything. I've never seen anything cuddly about that damn dog. So I got February of '88. So I kept going, and I liked the meetings, and they always had cake or some kind of. I get into that shit because if it makes me feel different for 3 seconds or longer, I'm addicted to it. So I'm eating this cake and shit, and starting to put on weight, but I'd still go in the meetings because to me it was the best show in town for a buck, hell, and I go to work. Well, that went on till May the 13th. I hooked up with one of my using buddies, Carla, and we went out, and I tried to smoke something that didn't work for years, man. It just didn't. And all I got was weird and paranoid. And I got pissed off. So I went back to work, finished that. I called this guy up at 1:30 or something in the morning, crying. You know how you hit that moment of clarity or whatever the fuck you want to call it? You're an addict, but you just don't want to accept it. And I was craving the shit I really wanted, but sitting in the meetings, even half stoned and shit and everything, something seeks in. And I knew if I went and found the shit I really wanted, and I robbed a corner dope dealer. If I didn't have money, he was a good person to rob. And I'm like, if I go do that shit, they used to say, play the tape through before you act. And if you went and got that shit, use that, then I'd probably do something really stupid and get caught again and do my 5 years of Los Angeles County jail. Yeah, Los Angeles County Jail is not a good jail to be in. You know, it's hell. I've seen people shanked. I've seen guards take their big MAGA flashlights and just beat the hell out of an inmate. Guards used to take one gang member that got all mouthy and throw it in with another one, knowing that he's going to be dead. And you know, they were all on steroids and shit. They were crazy fuckers. So I knew I didn't want to go there. That was my first dose of surrender and acceptance. You know, I called that guy up. He like, oh yeah, I saw you in here with court slips. I knew you were stoned during the maintenance plan, using everything else but what you really wanted. He goes, well, what are you going to do, man? Well, I don't know. That's why I called you. He said, well, you can keep dancing around on that fence of denial and rationalizing, or make up your mind what you're going to do. You're going to jump in and get recovery or what, or you're going to keep doing that shit till you wind up in jail or dead one. Man, this guy was not one bit nice. You know, and so he told me to take the next day off. So I took the next day off from work, going to meetings or anything, and think about what in the fuck I'm going to do. So that's why my clean date's May the 15th of 1988. I went back to that meeting. I picked up a white key tag, and I haven't used since. I asked that guy to be my sponsor, and he told me to read this book, somehow this book, and that. But I can't hardly read and write on the whole thing, because I was trying to figure out a way out of this shit, don't you know? I'm always looking for that easier way, because I know it exists. Somehow it does. And he goes, oh fuck, I really got to spend time with you and work with you. So he told me to show up an hour early at this treatment center called Stage 12, which was a treatment center for people who, the meetings was in the back of the place. It's called Stage 12. All the meetings were called studios there. And same meeting I've been going to. So show up here an hour early, get this book, and this book, and some white out and a pen. Because he's one of the more addicts they talk about when we do recover in the italics. He knew where they borrowed shit out of other fellowship books to write the basic text, basically. You know, I'm like, oh God. And he told me I had to be of service, go to any lengths to stay clean and pass it on. So I'd show up an hour early, and I had to fill up one of them big old 100-pot percolator things you see here. It's the water for the coffee maker. And so I did. I'd sit over there and we start going through the book, and I'd white shit out, write this in. And we started going through the steps and shit. Well, I did that and then he took meeting schedules and he said, you go to this meeting, this is the literature study meeting. You go to this one, this is the literature study meeting. You go to this one, and I'd would balk and want to whizzle out of him. He said, I don't care what you do. He said, the dope man's 2 blocks that way, and the liquor store's right up the road. Go do what you got to do, boy. If you live, come back and tell me it's any different. I hated fucking Bob. I cost him all the goddamn time. And he said, you go to 7 meetings a week. Don't worry about the 90 meetings in 90 days. 7 meetings a week, as long as you can, because you're crazier than hell. So I did, and he was my sponsor for a year, but what he did was illegal. He belonged, and he was court ordered by the family and shit. He didn't have much choice. He had 30-some years, and he disappeared. But he always told me, keep an eye out for somebody else to sponsor you, because you never know what the hell's going to happen. Because you're always going to need somebody to bounce your brilliant ideas off of. I still got a sponsor to this day. My sponsors we're the same in thinking and shit. She's got 10 years ahead of me, and she's a woman. And I'm not one bit sexually attracted to her, and she's almost as mean as Bob. Yeah. And he took the Living Clean the Living the Program pamphlet before they revised it and shit, tore off the front page, said, "This is what you do." And had a question, are you clean today? Did you attend a meeting? Did you read some NA literature? What step are you practicing? Did you call your sponsor? Did you call somebody else? He said, you do that shit. You're not ready for the rest of that shit. And I'm like, so I did that. I packed a pocket full of quarters because it's before cell phones. Oh, thank God for cell phones, man. Like my niece talked about it. In eastern Kentucky, they had line. You couldn't call anybody within a 30-mile area or there'd be a charge or some shit. Oh, hell. So I packed a pocket full of quarters and I called people before I used. And I would start writing about shit the best I could. My grammar sucks, spelling sucks. It's still not, it's better. Hell, I actually got an associate's degree in business. And, I learned how to read and write in meetings. The program gave me a lot. The two best things that ever happened to my sick ass is being arrested and getting court ordered. See, I don't know what's good for me. Hell, so I did that. I worked at that company till 90. I got cocky and stupid and got fired for a stupid thing. And, a sane person, when you see work slowing down and shit, and they're cutting people's hours, maybe it'd be an idea to settle down and milk it until they lay you off. Not me, hell no, I got fired. And the irony is, the reason they fired me for, I got unemployment out of it. Hell, I'm like, what the shit? So I got odd jobs from people in the program and drawed unemployment and everything, and then I really did not want to move back up the Holler or Pikeville. I really did. But my dad kept calling, saying my mother was this and that and shit. So one day I said, well, it's quite obvious I ain't going to find a job in L.A. or I've beat the bushes. So I built a big old box out of plywood, loaded all my shit up, nailed it shut, roped it in the back of my little Nissan pickup and headed home. Yeah. I was like, oh hell. And I do not like AA meetings. I gotta go to any other 12-step meeting than AA. I don't know why. I have nothing against them or their literature or nothing, but I just don't like their fellowship. So I got there and I figured, I looked at the phone book. I really date myself. This is before internet. Looking for a NA, CA, OA, something that said AA. God damn, I didn't want to go to AA. I really did. Well, the first week I'm there, my brother-in-law was living in this old raggedy-ass trailer that I grew up in, and Dad finally built a house. He was drunker than hell like usual. He runs up there and he grabs my nephews up, tells my sister she's an unfit mother and shit. And my dad, he quit drinking. I thought, well, it might not be too bad. He might be somewhat sane. Fuck no. A dry addict, his outing program is not sane. So he picks up this rock and tosses it like a hand grenade, hits old Don in the back of the head, and he goes tumbling. And I called my sponsor back there in L.A., and he goes, Lee says, Daniel, you got to go to a meeting. You're going to have to humble yourself and go to AA. Oh, God, I didn't want to go. And, I got pissed off because I couldn't find AA in the phone book. And you know what the irony is? I had to wait till Don sobered up enough and went and talked to him. And we wound up calling this mental health place called Mount Comprehensive Care, and they told me where the first meeting was at. And oh my God. Tabitha described my clothes. I went in there wearing that outfit, and this I never heard of a closed AA meeting in my life. Oh my God, I thought you had to knock on the door, and they'd slide this panel back, and you had to say this password to get in. So I went in there, and I was the youngest guy there wearing these wild clothes, and I talked a little bit different. And they went around and introduced themselves by whole names. They didn't do that in California. Hell. And I didn't introduce myself right, because I was an addict. Daniel and we don't allow addicts in here. I got a desire to stop drinking. Because, according to them other books, I learned the traditions. And they got mad about that. And then they got mad because I said the word fuck. And I said our primary purpose is to carry the message to the alcoholic is still suffering, not saying the word fuck. And so we went around. They hated me, but I shared whatever went on in it. And they all did this. They did this drunk-a-logs and chain smoked. And I go, well, I don't really like this, but I'll keep going. Because my sponsor, Lisa, keep going to meetings. Because guess what? You might run up on other addicts, Daniel. There's probably other people just as desperate as you are. See, I have a new understanding of that stuff in the italics of We Do Recover. See, I've been on the other side of the thing. That's why I don't worry about what somebody's desire is, stay clean or not. Hell, I didn't have no desire to stay clean. My desire was I was going to get off of probation, get the job off and run around with my little user buddy Christy till we killed each other. Yeah, that was my plan. And, men plan, God laughs, and he has a hell of a sense of humor. So I started an NA meeting. It lasted a while. There'd be like one or two of us. A lot of times just me. It would die, and we'd start another one. It would die. We did that routine for about 3 or 4 years, and then finally it fucking took off, man. I don't know. My buddy Jimmy started a meeting in one town, and my buddy I haven't seen ever. I heard he's still in recovery. Anthony started one. So I went to a meeting. I drove to Pressburg. I would drive 45 miles to an NA meeting down to Tulane. They had one in this little town. I used to drive all the way into Virginia, this little town, and go to the meeting, and I'd hook up with my dear buddy Kim, which she died. I miss her. That's how desperate I was for Narcotics Anonymous. And, I practice steps best I can and shit. And I stuck around. And, I always had anger problems. They've always caused me a lot of pain and misery and recovery. And I always have to do that knee-jerk reaction that I regret later and pay out my ass for. I did something stupid. And so I happened to haul logs, to sell an illegal old beat-up truck, to pay the court system for restitution, to keep from going to jail. I had a bad accident and shit. I wound up in jail and everything. I almost killed some guy. And I'm sitting up there at this old house, thinking, man, is this shit worth it? I didn't think about using it, but I thought about killing myself. I grabbed this old pistol up and used it, and the damn thing didn't go off. And I threw the fucker, and it went off. And then I'm like, all right, God, you got something. I talked to my higher power like he's there. All right, God, you got something in mind for me. You won't let me kill my fucking ass. So what the hell is it? Well, about 30 or 40 minutes later, my niece Tabitha comes up there with her 2 little buddies, want to see my basic tags and my key tag. I hang my key tags in a chain. I thought I should have brought them, but I forgot all about it. They're about 4 foot fucking long. They got key tags, medallions from different fellowships, but that's my recovery story, and I add to it every year. And so I asked her, you been using? She goes, I don't know. Well, all right, I'll meet you over. Come and get me, and we'll go to this meeting on Pikeville. So we went to New Discovery Life, and Tabitha picked up a white key tag. And next day, I'm riding to meetings with my niece and sister. They're both one day apart, and they had all this music that I couldn't stand, but for some reason I loved Afro Man and Colt 45. I thought that was the funniest damn song. And we'd beat up to this meeting, that song would be blasting, and these people looking, oh, them fuckers are nuts. And it looked like a clown car. We'd open the door, we'd all fall out. And we go to the meeting, we do that shit again, and they go on, they were going through withdrawal, spazzing and shit, and I'm like, all right, some reason, God, you got my back, and you're making shit work out. Because what I've learned in recovery, if you don't use and do some footwork, shit works out. Sometimes not the way you plan it, but it always works out. You know, that's always my hope shot. My higher power got my back. I worked a step working guide. One question: how you know there's a God? I'm still fucking alive. You know, and you know, I've had stents put in my heart, nose and throat operation for sleep apnea, and you know, and all kinds of stuff. And so me and Tabitha enjoy going to meetings, and it's like I went to her high school anniversary, her high school graduation. She was clean. I went to her graduation from U of L. She was clean. The Northern Law School was clean. Sworn as a lawyer, and I cried every fucking time. And I cry every anniversary we went to down there in Louisville. You know, because I didn't get the gift I think I get in recovery, because, you know, I got clean with all these actors and musicians that had all this shit and this stuff. And Bob used to say, it's just stuff, Daniel. It comes and goes. But recovery stays. As long as you can keep it, as long as you keep doing what you need to do. He was so right. So, you know, I didn't go to jail. I got 30 days in Pike County Jail, which I can do that shit on my hands. Hell, ain't no big deal. So I went to court and I trial, and I got one endangerment charge and did 30 days in jail and suspended driver's license. I'm like, all right, somehow this shit's working out. I wound up getting disability and stuff. And so, you know, and I used to judge my dad awful hard about all his shit. But you know what got over that? He's no longer on my resentment list when I do a 4-step. He used to be every time. And you know, I think he could do the best he knew how with what he had to work with. Because he was a World War II combat Marine. He went in there at 16. The only time he talked about that shit when he was drunk or in hell. And I'm like, oh my God. So, you know, my brother moved in with me. He was an addict and shit. He drove me crazy, and I was rougher on him than my dad ever was with Don at the end. And he died from cancer and shit. But you know what I've learned is I don't have to repeat the same mistake over and over again. I can try something different next time. As long as I'm in recovery, there's always a hope chance. So I started going to college because, you know, I saw my buddies and the meetings going on. There was one that was going to college doing a reading and reading. The whole meeting was who's an addict. And I'm like, well, hell, I have that thing memorized and shit. It might not be that bad. So I started as low as you can to 2 classes a semester forever. And I started out at one college, wound up in honoring, and finally I got an associate's degree from Ivy Tech. And it only took 4 times to pass the damn English class? And there's this English professor I hated from hell, and she was like, oh God, you couldn't write a paper to pass her in the world. Now she shops at the damn store I work at, and we're the best of buddies. Ain't that messed up? It really is. And it's funny as hell. And, you know, I don't know what I could tell you, anybody here, except don't keep coming back to meetings, practice the steps in life's best bill, and just work the fuckers. Don't analyze them to death or try to work them perfect, because I never did. You know, and then they told me I had onset diabetes in recovery. And I'm like, God, I don't want to shoot up with insulin and shit. You know, because my brother-in-law, the one that I went to first meeting with, he was like a brother to me than my actual brother. He was really overweight. He had diabetes. He never could arrest his disease. And it basically killed him. He had a stroke, lost his legs and shit. He wouldn't talk to me on the phone, and it was hard because he wasn't the same man. And I'm like, fuck, I don't go down the same way of Larry. So I cussed when they told me I had onset diabetes. Because when I have to accept something, my surrender is not pleasant and nice and sweet. I told this little tangent, cussed, told, shit, kicked shit, and then I'm like, oh fuck, I gotta go see what I gotta do to surrender this shit. You know. So I called them, I apologized to the woman at the clinic, told her and then I go, what you gotta do? Well, you gotta go to the health department to a nutritionist. And I asked her what a serving of Hershey Kisses was. And she put 6 in her hand. I'm like, what? That's just a damn good start. And I didn't know what I was going to do or anything. And I went to an NA chili thing, and I got in. It's never really gray with me. It's all black and white thing, and so I'm going to become a vegetarian and a health freak, and I'll lose the weight. So I got this recipe for vegetarian chili, and it said 2 habanero peppers. Well, I like my shit hot, so I put 4 in there. I brought that stuff over there, and these people were mixing it with somebody else's, and only a few of us were eating my chili. And this guy said, well, I go to this other rooms that help me in my food. So I went down there, and I read their first step in their book. It never dawned on me to look at certain foods like I'm not a drug. Because I always complicate an apple. I don't know anybody else does, but I do. So I don't eat chips, and I don't eat all the sweets, I don't eat the pies or none of that stuff that they have. At my home group, when somebody makes it, I gotta make this vegetarian chili and shit. And I'm the treasurer of my home group. My home group's a literature study meeting. It meets Monday at 6 p.m. We don't know what church we're going to meet at right now. Right now we're moved because the other church has a sewage problem. But and the reason we got the meeting is the spiritual travelers group, because during the pandemic, I was pissed off, man. I cussed everybody over that shit. I don't go to meetings, can't go to the gym. You had this bitchy fit, how you do when shit ain't going your right way. And I made it through the pandemic. I survived it. I worked at this big store, watched people fight over toilet paper, Lysol, and everything else. I'm like, oh God, these fuckers are crazy. And there's one section store I'd get done first, because I was the guy that cleaned the shelves, straighten them up, and I'd move the other end of the store away from that section where the toilet paper shit. So them fuckers charge in at 7, and they go over and hear cussing and shit, they ain't none of this, and then I'd move that way when they get done fussing over it. I'm crazy, not stupid. I always keep that in mind. So I went to the meetings, I read their literature and shit, and so I gave up them foods, and I did what I was suggested, and I lost 200 pounds, and I kept it on, too. I'm almost a vegetarian. It's just, I don't not one that likes to pack his own food. I'm a lazy fucker. I guess I'm pissing people off. Oh, well, they'll get over it. But the thing is, a lot of days I don't like people at all. I hate them all. Some days I hate everybody. But thank God for recovery. Thank God for family members in recovery and friends. Because I live with both my sisters in recovery. Sometimes it's a blessing, sometimes it's a bitch. And I got a niece in recovery that likes to call me up, pester me about shit, and go on, take me places and shit, starve me to death because she takes forever because she's got to eat at a certain place. But I would not give none of that shit up for anything. I got all kinds of friends and shit. I came here and people. There's one lady that's in the meeting that I don't remember where I met her at, but hell, glad she's in recovery. She knew me and my sisters and my nieces and shit. But yeah, hell. But that, I guess I'm done. Thank you for letting me share.